I'm joined now by Conservative MP and GBNews presenter Jacob Rees-Mogg. Thanks for joining me on the show, Jacob. It's always a pleasure. Jacob, you were moved last night following a former apology when you apologised for immigration in a previous broadcast. Last night you said the chilling statement, the question of mass migration could cost the Tories the next election. Mass migration is not the norm in our society. It's the exception. It's let down the electorate. So the 64,000 or the 745,000 question, which is the number that came in legally, not illegally, is what is the Conservative Party going to do about it, because time is quickly running out for you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Time is running out. But legal migration is easier to deal with than illegal migration because we set the terms and there aren't really human rights issues that relate to it. So there aren't other legal considerations that can overrule the visa conditions. So you could set caps, you could lower the numbers, you could increase the salary level that people are required to have, you could get rid of the 20% discount on wages for shortage occupations, and things like that that would put the price up and limit the supply.
All of those things are great ideas. So why haven't you done them in the past 13 years? And in particular, in the Conservatives' 2019 manifesto pledge to another one of those caps, reduce overall numbers to below 239,000. Yet, Jacob, we see that almost tripling. You've had presumably the powers to limit visas and to limit salaries all along. Why has it taken until 5 to midnight to come to that conclusion?
Well, not all along. As long as we were a member of the European Union and were in the process of leaving, so up until 2020, EU migration was uncontrolled, and therefore we couldn't control the total figure. Immediately after that, of course, we had the pandemic, and there was a worry when the pandemic ended that there were shortages within the economy and that those needed to be made up for. And that led to the wage level being set at too low a rate. And now the figures have come through. The really shocking revision of the 2022 figure from 606,000 to 745,000, and the unrevised figure for 2023 of 673,000, which may, of course, go up further. We've now seen 2 years of appalling figures, and that is bringing the pigeons home to roost and is reminding people of what needs to be done. But it can be done, there is time, and there's no time like the present.
Well, Jacob, do you think that part of the problem here is there's a division within the Tory party, as we saw with Brexit, as we saw with the Red Wall versus the Shires, and that is the people in the Red Wall. Lee Anderson was roaring out today, Alex Stafford from Rother Valley saying his constituents have had enough of it because they're directly impacted by it, because that's the kind of areas where the migrants, the immigrants go to live. Meanwhile, in the Shires, where it's largely unaffected, or in fact, they benefit from more students paying to their universities, they benefit from cheaper labour for their nannies and their coffee shops or their cleaners. They don't care about it. In fact, it makes them seem virtuous. And so we have this huge doom cycle of an addiction to labour, cheap labour on the one hand, and the reality of the impact on the working classes in the other. And this division in the Tory party is as big, if not bigger, than Brexit.
Well, I don't think it's particularly a division of that kind. Certainly in my constituency in North East Somerset, which is certainly in a shire county, people raise migration with me again and again. It is something that comes up on the doorsteps whenever I'm out and about, and people come up to me in the street and mention it. It is a big concern across the electorate, across the country. I think the issue is actually driven by the Treasury and the economic modelling done by the ABR, which looks at total size of the economy, including migration. It doesn't look at GDP per capita. So it wants the migration and is encouraging the Treasury to push for more migration to achieve a bigger total economy, but a smaller economy for each one of us to have a share of.
And what about the issue of student visas? We've seen 378,000 of those issued, including 96,000 additional dependents. That's a city the size of Liverpool, and that's in 1 year. Where are these people expected to live? Migration Watch are predicting that if it carries on like this until 2046, we'll need to build 18 new Birminghams.
Well, this is unsustainable. That we have a financing model for universities that has frozen student fees, and therefore the universities lose money on domestic students subsidised by foreign students. This can't carry on, and I don't understand why students need to bring dependents, and you need also to look at why they're able to stay for 2 years after they've finished their studies. That should be reduced, and we've got the wrong economic model for universities.
And do you think, we talk of wedge issues all the time, and Lee Anderson was saying we need to put clear blue water between us and that lot over there. Of course, he means the Labour Party, who seem poised for power. How can you do that in the time you have left? What impact can you do? Because it seems that at every junction you're stymied by the lawyers, by the courts, by journalists, by the ECHR, you name it. The barbed wire is there to take you down. Is the problem simply insurmountable?
No, and your question's so important because you're absolutely right on illegal migration, but on legal migration, the lawyers, the courts, the Human Rights Act, none of that apply. This is just straightforward administration. Do you award a visa for this category of people? They're not fleeing for their lives. They're not refugees. They don't have a right to come. We allow them to come and charge them for the privilege. We can stop that. And interestingly, Labour has proposed a cap of 200,000. So we're at risk of being caught bathing and having our clothes stolen.
Yeah, it's a colourful metaphor to end on, as ever. Thank you for joining us. Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.